Hey Ravelers! Last time I showed you a video on how to knit with the yarn held in front, and I referred to purling with the yarn held in back as Norwegian purling. And there are a lot of people in the comments who wanted to know what Norwegian purling was and how to do it. There are a lot of videos on YouTube that show how to do it. I'm going to do it pretty up close and explain exactly how it works and why it works. So that's what we're going to do today.
Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do Norwegian purl. So first I'm going to do a knit stitch. Now normally when you do a knit, you have the yarn in the back. So when you do a purl, you need to bring the yarn forward. So the yarn is forward, you insert the right hand needle through the stitch from back to front, and the yarn has to come around, I'm holding this awkwardly, but counterclockwise, and then you pull the stitch, pull the new loop through to the back and then off the needle. And then when you want to knit, you bring the yarn forward again and you knit a stitch. Now with Norwegian purl, you can keep the yarn in the back. So I'm going to do one real quick. The yarn is in the back of the work. And I'm moving my hands around so you probably can't see. But I was able to make the purl keeping the yarn in the back the whole time. And what you're doing is, rather than moving the yarn forward and then sticking the needle through here like this, you see how the yarn is positioned right here before you're getting ready to get the to wrap the needle or wrap the yarn or pick the yarn. Instead of doing that, you keep the yarn in back, and as you enter the stitch, you've got the yarn. It's like doing a yarn over in Continental, so that the needle is behind that yarn as you enter the stitch. Now you still have to bring the yarn around this needle in a counterclockwise method in order to pull that loop through. So what you have to do instead is swing the yarn tip around to grab that yarn. You see how it's coming around counterclockwise? And then you're bringing the yarn through the front. You bring that loop to the front so that you can pull it back through the loop. So here I'm going to do another knit. So let me show you that again. So the needle is behind the working yarn as it enters the stitch, and then you have to grab this yarn in order to pull it through to the back. So to do that, you need to swing around to the back to grab this yarn. See how it's around here counterclockwise? And you bring it back to the front so that you can pull the yarn through. So it accomplishes the same thing. And you see there's a lot more, for me anyway, there's a lot more wrist motion and needle tip manipulation. But especially for something like knit one, purl one ribbing, I'm doing this on kind of large needles for knit one, purl one ribbing. I'm using size 7 needles, which is fine for stockinette, but normally you'd use a needle 2 sizes smaller. So this is kind of a sloppy looking ribbing anyway. But I think it helps to have things on a little bigger needle than you'd normally use when I demonstrate. So again here, let's do a knit. So again, rather than coming forward and entering the yarn like this, you leave the yarn in back, and so you're in the same position. I mean, if I were to bring the yarn in front right now, it would look the same. Okay, so now I'm going to grab the yarn so that this loop is in front so that I can pull it through. Because what you're doing when you're purling is you're reaching through this hole to grab this yarn and pull the new loop through. And when you're doing it in Norwegian, it's still doing the same. You're reaching through, you're grabbing the yarn so that you can pull it through.